Hello everyone, this is Patty Behan and I want to thank you for joining me today. In this video, I'm going to show you the variety of foam ink blending tools that we have. We have our rectangular shape tool with replacement rectangular foam. We have our mini round tool and that has two varieties of foam. It has a flat head foam and a domed head foam. And then last we have our detail blending tool, which has a very small piece of foam attached to each end, and it's great for getting into small areas. You can use these tools with any type of ink, paint, and some mediums. But before we begin, there is one more thing that I would like to mention. As you can see, some of the packaging is in grayscale and some is in brown. We are in the process of transitioning our packaging to the grayscale. So this is what they will look like now, and in the near future you may start seeing these brown packages in grayscale like this. With that said, let's go into a little more detail about when and how you would use each of these tools. And let's get started. Okay, to start, I'm going to show you and tell you about our rectangular ink blending tool. This was the first tool that Ranger came out with, and it has a Velcro attachment that is stapled to the tool, and then it has replacement foams. And each of these foams has a fabric background that sticks to the Velcro, and there is foam on the top. And these are washable and reusable like all of our foam, and all of the foam is the same grade. It's just different shapes and sizes. You can use this for any kind of inks, paints, most mediums. It really doesn't matter what it is, anything that you want to colorize with or the like. So I'm going to show you how I use this tool, and we'll do it in steps. And to begin, I'll show you how I use it with paint. This is a great way of applying paint to a stamp without oversaturating it. So I'm going to shake up my paint and put my stamp on the block, just like so. And then I'll get that out of the way, and I'm going off camera to finish shaking the paint. And I'll put some onto the silicone mat, and you don't need a whole lot, and then you're going to pounce onto the paint and get a nice even coat on the foam. You don't need too much, just enough to color the stamp. And once you have a nice coat here, you're going to pounce on the stamp lightly to ink it all up like you'd be using an ink pad. You don't want a whole lot of ink, just enough so you get a nice impression. I think that'll do it. And then go ahead and stamp it down. And then you see we got a nice stamping when we used the applicator tool to apply the paint. So when you're done, make sure you rinse off your stamp. I have some water over to the side here. And again, when you use this with paint, you're going to want to wash these off if you want to reuse them, because they'll just dry and they'll get stiff and they won't be usable. So go ahead, put that in water and let that soak while we continue to play. I'm just going to clean this up. And another thing you could do is you can use this to blend ink onto the tag. But I feel like the best use for this larger tool is to ink the edges of the tag. So I'm taking my prize ribbon and I put a new piece of foam on here, and I'm just inking the edges here just to give it a little accent. And let me clean that up and take that off, and you can store your foam pads on the back of this. This is reusable. Put another piece of Velcro to the back of the pad, but just remember, when you stack your pads you may get ink on the other pads. Now we're going to use it to glue. I had previously stamped this word curious onto some Dina Wakley collage tissue, and I'm going to use some Distress Collage Medium to adhere this to my tag. So I'm going to put a liberal amount onto the foam and then apply it to the back of the tissue and then just stick it on there, just like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and go over the top, and I'll just put the edges here to the back. And you can see that's a great way to quickly glue on a large piece of collage to your work. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to use the mini ink blending tool. It comes in a 2-pack with some foams, and it has your replacement foams that you can get as well, and it's the same principle. The only thing is, now you have a round tool, and the same thing. It has the Velcro stapled on and the fabric on the back here of the foam, and you attach it the same way. And again, this has the same uses. It's washable and reusable, and you can use it the same way with paints, with glues, and any kind of ink pad. Distress Oxides, Archival, Simon Hurley, Wendy Vecchi, Dina Wakley, and Dylusions ink pads. But today I'm going to show you with the Kitsch Flamingo Distress Oxide ink, because the oxides are really one of my favorite ink pads. So the same thing. You apply the ink to the foam like so, and it doesn't look like there's a lot on there, but there is. And so you want to hold it again in the sculptured indent, and always start off the page because there is a lot of ink on there, and you want to make sure you have a nice starting point and you don't start off too dark. And then you just slowly start from the edge and then go at a slight angle, kind of work your way into the center, and see how nicely that blends. The more you use it, the lighter it gets. So your edges are going to be darker, and as you spread out the ink, it's going to get lighter. Now I'm going to show you how to use it on a stencil. I'm using a Dina Wakley media tag here this time, and I'm placing the stencil down, and the same thing, you put some ink onto the foam, and then you just hold it at an angle and rub it across the stencil. Now when you're using the flat foam, you're going to get a larger halo because you can't really get into the creases as much. But let's put this aside a second, and I'll show you the difference when I use the domed foam. Alright, so now I'm going to tell you about our domed foam. Now, we don't have a tool that is packaged with the domed foams. As you can see, it's the same tool that we use that has the flat foam. So just know that you have to buy the domed replacement foam separately, as you see here. So the difference in this foam is that it still has a fabric backing, but there is a little bit of material here, and hopefully you can see that. Then this is the same exact foam that's on this tool, except it's sculpted into a dome. So it works the same way. You put it onto the tool, and the difference between this and the flat foam is that this holds a lot more ink compared to the flat tool. And this way you get a longer use of the foam before you have to re-ink it from the pad again. Otherwise it works the same way, and you want to start off the edge of the paper and lightly go into the middle of the tag. And I think this is the best tool for a beginner because I feel like it is easier to get a more even blend without having to practice too much. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and use that same stencil again with the domed foam. I'm going to ink up my foam again, and you'll find that you can get closer to the edges because of the dome, and you get a darker impression. The other tool, you get more of a dreamy look. So depending on the look you're going for, you can decide which tool you would like to use. I'll bring this up closer so that you can see. And I wanted to remind you that same as the other foams, these are washable and reusable. So you could either save one for every color or wash it off and use it for something else. Now let's go on to the next. And this time I'm using our detail blending tools. I'm going to use them in conjunction with the dome foam. and they have a little piece of foam attached to each end, which is great for getting into small detailed areas. And to demonstrate this, I'm going to be coloring in this image. I use this floral outline stamp set with hickory smoke embossing glaze, and I embossed the image, and now we're going to color it in. I'm going to use the Kitsch Flamingo first, and then some shaded lilac. And once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and get the mini blending tool and get into these small areas. And you just keep coloring in and blending as you go. And then you're done. So now let me show you how to use these tools with a stencil. The detail blending tool is really great when you just want to concentrate certain colors in tiny areas. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how easy it is even to get in these tiny dots. First, we'll take the shabby shutters and we'll color in these tiny dots here. And then once that's done, we can start randomly filling in the bigger dots with all the different colors. And you'll see how easy it is and how precise it is to get in with that mini tool. And since these tools are a bit more delicate, I would reserve one tool for a certain color, and I would just write the name on the side here with the Sharpie, and maybe you don't have to use every color, but like the same color family. So hopefully I've given you some insight on how these tools work, and this will help you to choose the perfect tool for your next project. If you'd like to know where you can find these tools, we've placed a link in the description box below. And I'd want to remind you that if you'd like to see more crafty videos, please subscribe to our channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.